Today's podcast is brought to you by Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. You can find links in the description of this podcast. We're back, Paul. Or more specifically, I am back. Why is it so bright?
Yeah, I don't know. I can turn this.
I'm way
you are bright.
oversaturated here.
What happens? Help your lighting.
You go away. You change nothing. Things change. I don't know if any. Apparently, the condensate pump is not done running. This is just a great welcome back. But how you been, Paul?
I don't know. Good, I guess.
So, Paul, while I was away,
yep.
Epiphany.
Here we go.
So, what if I told you that I could solve the Skype and Teams for Consumer problem?
Okay.
All it costs is $10 billion.
Does it begin with a D and end with a D?
You think about it. This is perfect for Microsoft.
Now, just to be clear, are you referring to like the branding point of it, or?
I'm just winding back the clock a little bit. Microsoft is expected, or at least in talks, exclusively according to the Wall Street Journal, with Discord to buy them. So here's my synopsis of this. Microsoft has Skype, but we can all agree that Skype hasn't really done anything. We just went through hopefully, fingers crossed, the massive move from working in an office to working from home. WhatsApp blew up. All these chat applications exploded except for Skype. And also
Slack, but yes. Okay.
And also Teams for Life, or whatever they're calling it, are doing with it this week. So they've got these two chat applications that are in a really awkward position because they don't want to admit that, like, hey, Skype is whatever and Teams for Life isn't going to work. And so they march in and say, look, here's our problem solved. We buy Discord. It's a chat application. We say this is the new premier chat application from Microsoft. Maybe the video inside of Discord is brought to you by Skype. And like, look, Teams for Life, it's great. You can still use it. We're not going to officially kill it. But this is what we're going to start pushing. And it solves all their problems in this awkward chat space. $10 billion. That's all it is.
Do you think that's why they're buying it, or would buy it for that reason? Or
I don't think it's
what's the rationale?
I don't think it's explicitly why they're buying it, but that is like a really convenient offshoot of what it will do if they do acquire it. The reason why they're buying it, at least in my opinion, is it's probably the maybe second largest community of gaming aside from Twitch, right? Microsoft, right. When Microsoft saw what was happening with Twitch, there was a lot of talk inside the company that says we cannot lose the next Twitch, whatever it is. We can't lose it because that was a massive golden goose that Microsoft just completely missed. They tried to chase it down with Mixer, didn't work. But Discord has a massive community. It's a chat application, but it also supports streaming, or at least it will here. It gives them a second option of potentially getting back into that streaming market, which they know is exploding. And so there's a lot of reasons why. The question is $10 billion the right number?
I think $10 million is the new minimum for a company of any future worth. That when Microsoft's looking at $1 billion business, 10 billion might be the baseline now for the cost of such a company if you're going to acquire it.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to, we can go back and compare it to Minecraft and GitHub and LinkedIn and what they would have paid for TikTok, which was over double this figure. I think it's a lot about community. Discord is not ironic. It's almost like an oxymoronic term for a chat service when you think about it. We're looking more for Accord than Discord, I guess, or whatever.
It's a good album.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, so here's what I first of all, Teams is an unstoppable brand on the commercial side of the fence,
Correct.
right? And it is the center of the Microsoft client experience. Now it's the be all and end all. I mean, from what I can tell. But you're right. The addition of consumer features into Teams has been awkward at best, and I think a lot of people would say, look, federation between the two services, Skype and Teams, is obvious and should be seamless, and it's not. Maybe the other stuff they're doing is stupid. And I've always sort of felt like it's too bad because I feel like Skype is kind of a good brand, but I always kind of start, not always, but in recent years, I've seen it going away.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing you just described, which is like Windows 2000 powered by NT technology, it's Discord powered by Skype technology. I always sort of thought that the future, unfortunately, for this brand was going to be like an afterthought on a loading screen or something. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I've even used Discord, so I'm not really that familiar with it. But how would you compare it to the WhatsApps?
This is the perfect description of Discord, at least in my opinion. Now, people are gonna be whatever. It's Slack for gamers.
Okay.
That is how, if I'm going to approach, now it is more than that because there's other features and functionalities and some other stuff. But if you want an elevator pitch to tell, I don't know how to say my mom because I don't even know if my mom knows what Slack is. But somebody in the IT space or gaming space would understand what Slack is. That is the parallel here. And it's very clearly like there's Discord Premium, a premium service. They just start including that in Game Pass. It allows them to broaden what Game Pass is beyond just quite literally games, but now it's like the community, the chat service, everything else. Like it ticks a lot of the boxes for what Microsoft wants to do. The question is 10 billion.
I think it is. I think it's fine, given the size of the community. I really do.
I'm not saying it's not. That's the only question.
My issue with TikTok was that I still feel this way, even though it's still around. I mean, I feel like TikTok may be ephemeral in the sense that every other service on earth has kind of picked up what TikTok does. Mm-hmm. It sort of reminds me of the Fortnite Battle Royale thing, and I was saying how this is just a mode of Call of Duty. Like, why would this be its own thing? Like, I feel like when a company, whoever came up with Battle Royale originally, whoever it was, when you come up with an idea that good and everyone else kind of copies it, that original pure thing is, in many cases probably gets pushed aside because these other communities, right, are very popular, Call of Duty, whatever. Not that that's happened, and Fortnite is obviously still huge. But I will say, watching teams get piled on features over and over and over again, watching the application get bigger and heavier, watching the functionality kind of explode as it becomes this huge platform, I can't help but think that the consumer side of the fence would be served by something much more lightweight. Yeah. And that you said, Slack for gamers. Mm-hmm. Microsoft made their version of Slack and then they kept going. I feel like for consumers, gamers or whatever, but just consumers, lightweight, less functionality is where it's at, right?
Sure.
Like this thing should federate with Teams, absolutely. But that should be it. We're not going to be plugging in apps and adding all this crap to it. Like it should be like a thin, light thing that makes sense when you're loading it on the side when you're playing a game or if you're on your phone or whatever it is.
See, I don't even think it should federate with Teams at all. Like, I think Discord should just be the only thing it should federate with
own thing.
Is Xbox. Like, that's it. Let me log in.
I think it becomes Xbox. Yeah. I mean, however they do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. But I mean, I think if I guess where I was moving was maybe not worry so much about the consumer stuff in Teams. Mm-hmm. And just keep it all on this one client, whatever it's going to be called, Skype or Discord. And if what pushes it over the top for people is that you have some federation on either side, where those people who spend most of their life in Teams, but they have some friends on Skype or whatever the service is. Like, it's nice being able to bring that stuff in and have it work in that other place. Now, the best place to do that, frankly, is probably Teams because it already has a model for this kind of extendability. So maybe that's the right way. I mean, it's a one-way street. Maybe it goes in that direction. But anyway, yeah, I don't have any issues with Discord. Or Microsoft buying Discord. I mean, I as always in our space, I mean, there are people who are freaked out by this. But in a battle of the brands, you're going to have to make a choice. Microsoft in this case is going to have to make a choice. So some people are going to be unhappy no matter what happens.
Yeah. So we'll see. It was rumored to potentially close next month, which honestly is a week away. So it's
exactly.
But I would imagine that there's probably going to be regulatory oversight, maybe because it's a $10 billion acquisition. Like Discord is big, but it's not that big.
Not, the problem, I don't. Bethesda had to clear some kind of regulatory hurdle, so this will as well. But ultimately, what we have is the same equation, which is non-dominant platform maker in the video game space is buying a non-dominant something, in this case a service. Look at how it all lines up. It's fine. I just don't.
I don't see any regulatory concern here either, because I mean, Xbox is the number. The only challenge is that Microsoft itself is massive, but Xbox in the gaming world isn't. Like it's the number 2. It's behind PlayStation 5.
It's number 2. It's kind of. I mean, you could argue it's number 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say behind Switch. I mean,
you're right. I mean, I know there are different kinds of products, but yeah, I don't know. At some point, we're going to have to start measuring communities. I guess we keep coming back to that. I mean, if you want to compare PlayStation to Switch to Xbox, it's not just an X number of consoles sold. It's not It's not even number of users necessarily, although that plays into it. I think a lot of it has to do with engagement and how much they're spending. How many, the attach rate was always kind of a big thing with consoles. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Microsoft. Anyway, they're obviously one of the 3, so whatever. But I bet they're number 2. I bet they're number 3. I mean, honestly, but
somewhere. I mean, the key thing is Microsoft doesn't own the gaming market in any capacity.
Either way, yeah, that's right.
So, but things you should own is a subscription, which is free. It's on every single podcast platform. But if you're not familiar with Behind the Tech or Kevin Scott, that's okay. But Kevin Scott is the CTO, or the Chief Technology, over at Microsoft, and he has a pretty cool podcast. His podcast is called Behind the Tech, and you can find it on all the major platforms. What he does is he goes behind the scenes with today's most innovative tech leaders in a diverse technology podcast. And highlighted this week, we've got the Reid Hoffman interview. And so you can find that. I always point down because I think the description is below, but sometimes I've been informed it is above.
Yes.
So click those links.
It's important not to point, I think, is because things also change,
Yeah, things, I guess it could.
A lot of YouTuber guys are like, I think it's over there. It's like, just don't point. Just don't point.
So make sure to add Behind the Tech to your podcast feed, as there's a pretty cool back catalog. And I've already titled this podcast, even though I usually do that after, as Last Week Today, because
right. So what was your week like? You must have just walks on the beach.
Right now this week's way oversaturated. I can already tell, but I'm still annoyed the lighting changed in here. All I did was run a Windows update, which is havoc.
Stay focused. What did?
Anyways, so we were gone seven days. I would say we had 65% like really good weather, and then the first day we were there, full Sunday, just dumped rain. We did nothing. Like there was nothing. But the rest of the days were pretty good. Went on a massive bike ride. First time I've ridden a bike since you and I did that little jaunt in Amsterdam.
Right.
But this was like,
you were pretty much just a rider in that capacity.
Yes. This was like a 4-hour long thing. Let me tell you, man, I woke up the next day and I was like, oh my God. Like I didn't realize those muscles existed and or could hurt so bad. Yeah. But yeah, good time on the beach, relaxed, drank a bunch of local beverages there. Stayed in a nice house. Just wake up, walk to the beach, hang out.
Was this a friend of a friend house thing, or did you Airbnb it, or what? Okay?
Yeah, just a friend, or actually my wife's friends. Actually, it's my wife's friend's house, I guess is the best way to describe it. And so we just drove down there, stayed in the house, and had a good time under the sun. A lot of SPF 50 in my general direction. We were in DC for a couple of days, and we just walked and walked and walked. We walked over 20,000 steps a day for 3 days in a row, and that's my DC thing. Like I just end to end, I love DC. Anyway, but we're out. It was also sunny and whatever. And when we got home on Monday, and on Tuesday I went to the doctor for I guess I go twice a year, but I call it my annual checkup or whatever. And she's like reading questions off the screen, and then she goes, you get outside a lot? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I walk the dog every day. I mean, and she goes, do you wear sunscreen? And I'm like, what? Why? And she says, oh, and then she's like, well, you're really red. And I was like, I'd gotten exposure thing, like my nose was, I think it's almost done now, but my forehead and nose were like all peeling and everything. Anyway, yeah, so it was nice. It's nice. Of course, I don't know where you are, but like where we are this week, a couple of decent days, and then it's going to be like in the 40s for a couple of days, but then it looks like we're in the wild swings of I'm wearing shorts and I'm wearing we're into this.
We sat outside, no jacket, shorts, t-shirt on Saturday. Beautiful.
There are days this week where I could start the morning with the furnace and then the evening with the air conditioning unit.
Yeah, seasons. Depending on where you live, I've well, not always. I live in Phoenix, but I mean, most of the places I live have that four-season thing. And my one observation is that seasonal shifts do not occur cleanly.
Nope.
The last season always goes out kicking and screaming.
Also important news. My wife was a murderer while we were in Hilton Head.
Yeah,
So one of the cool things you can actually do in Hilton Head, which you can't really do too much like on the Gulf Shore, is like we rented bikes, obviously, and you can ride your bike on the beach. Like we would take the bikes and ride to like dinner, like ride down the beach, find a place that had some outdoor seating on the ocean and eat. We were riding on the ocean, and the Atlantic coast is much more lively with like creatures.
Mm-hmm.
My wife ran over a crab.
Oh, a crab!
Like you could, she was riding, and I heard her go ooh, and then you heard like that pop noise from when you like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you made a seagull really happy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I need your opinion on something. So, my wife says I'm insensitive. Probably.
Okay, I'll just clear this up right now. You are.
We found a seagull that had one leg.
Yes.
One leg.
Right.
I wanted to name it Peg. That was apparently inappropriate.
That is hilarious.
Yes, thank you.
That's not. It's a seagull. This is a disease-ridden pigeon-like animal. Yeah. I mean, what are you talking about? It's a scavenger.
Right. Exactly. Like one leg is like that's
loud. They're annoying. They're dirty. If you've ever been to a beach in your life, if you've been crapped on, it was a seagull.
Yeah. So good trip. I probably really should have rethought the whole 11 hours in a car with your family after you've spent a year in the car with your family. But that was a little.
What's the alternative though?
No, I mean we weren't going to fly, so.
Wear your little Darth Vader outfit on the plane, like multiple masks and stuff.
Darth Vader outfit. Speaking of outfits, there's some new icons coming to Windows.
Yeah, a lot happened while you were gone, Brad.
So we got new File Explorer icons. We've got Xbox Network with a little n, not a capital N, as I was dutifully noted.
Was this really confusing to anybody? Really? Really?
It's a moment in time. Sayonara to Xbox Live.
It doesn't matter, but I just...
So here's my long drawn theory on this. It's just This is tied back to Discord, because Discord, it'll be Discord, part of the Xbox Network.
Oh yeah.
And that way, when you have like Live or whatever service, Game Pass, it's part of the network, because the network is meaning more than like just Xbox now.
See, my theory, I still think they're going to get rid of Xbox Live Gold.
I do too.
And at that point, having an Xbox Live run might confuse matters, because people would think it was still a thing. Like one thing that just happened, I never even brought this up actually, but Microsoft removed the Xbox Live Gold requirement for free to play games if you want to play multiplayer. And when you hear something like that, you're like, why was it ever like that? So to me, this signals this and many other things. I mean, they just had to raise the price of it, of course. But I mean, I really feel like they're stepping back from it, and that the future is going to be Game Pass, and there's no reason for an Xbox Live Gold.
I tend to agree. And I also agree with you should check out Behind the Tech with Kevin Scott. Links in the description of this podcast, and we'll catch all of you back here tomorrow. And I'm really hoping the audio worked on this podcast.